Okay, everyone, let's begin. Just welcome to everybody who's joined the call. ESA, certainly Cindy, Anna, and I appreciate you taking time to be part of this great healthcare series focused on well-being, which will continue into October. This is the first of really 8 meetings. We're on a 2-week cadence where we plan to bring to our network showcasing the best of the best benefits innovations. Before I turn it over to Art Dickerson to introduce FemTec Health and Collective Health, we want to sincerely thank our sponsors, ADP and Siegel, and Art for his willingness to facilitate this discussion. Art, who we consider one of the innovators in the well-being space, has been instrumental in targeting providers who are unique and some of the best, as you've heard me say before. Art is the president and CEO of Top Gear Strategies, has been at the forefront of innovation for over 4 decades, and his company advises on leading innovations and growth strategies. So with that and keeping things moving, I will turn it over to Art to set the stage for our hour together. So Art, all yours.
All right. Well, thank you, John. Well, welcome to Engagement and Retention, the Best of the Best Innovators in Wellbeing series. So we're going to go through this agenda here pretty quickly and get you into the real meat of this presentation. I just want to say it should come as no surprise to all of you ESA members that the topic of wellness and well-being are more foundational than ever. If we're going to achieve optimal engagement and retention, it's crucial to attract and retain the best talent in the world. And I think that when I look across the market since COVID, all the employers that I'm working with and talking to are doubling down on these new and innovative strategies because they're needing to focus not just on health, but behavioral issues and financial well-being, and do it in such a way that it's new and better. So over the next 4 months, as John said, every 2 weeks, this series is going to highlight 2 of the best wellness and well-being innovative benefit providers that are positively impacting the future of work. Now, you're in session 1 of 8, and we have 2 ESA panelists today. FemTec Health, they'll go first, and then Collective Health will follow. They're going to provide insights on their innovation that's focused and completely unfiltered for your benefit. Now, we're recording today's session as we always do. We'll send out a link to ESA's YouTube channel and the presentations as well. So again, just to echo what John said, thank you again for being here today. We know your time is a valuable asset, and we are deeply honored that you are here today. We couldn't be more grateful that you're spending time with us, because we're here to learn and hear about leading innovators and disruptors that are dramatically improving wellness and well-being. So we're going to start in just a second to move into our first presenter. As I said, this is being recorded. Today, first, you're going to be hearing from Dr. Kim Angelides of FemTec Health, CEO, and also Cody McKelvey of Collective Health. Kim's going to kick off this first session in just a moment, but be sure to stick around for part 2 for Cody McKelvey of Collective Health. After Kim presents, it's equally engaging and something you won't want to miss from Cody. Kim, I can't tell you how delighted we are to have you on our panel today. For the benefit of those on today's webinar, Kim is an accomplished serial entrepreneur and the man behind the creation of Livongo, which is the original total diabetes management solution, Vivante Health, the original total gastrointestinal health solution, both wildly successful companies. And we're really excited today to hear about your latest innovation, Total Women's Health. Kim, go ahead and share your screen in just a second. You'll have 15 minutes. Thereafter, you'll have 10 minutes Q&A. I will need to cut you off at 15 minutes sharp to keep these sessions focused and get back to all the attendees' questions for you. So please share your screen now and begin. You have 15 minutes.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Art. I really appreciate the introduction and the opportunity to be able to chat with you today. We're FemTec Health. We're a health and beauty sciences company that is focused on a total comprehensive solution for women. Really, there's really no more important person in healthcare than really the pillar of the family, and that's women. Healthcare for women is broken. It's fragmented into various different segments: reproductive care, specialty care, for example, chronic care. And really, it's actually been uncoordinated such that a woman really has to basically patch together the various solutions that they need. Today, there's been really a flurry of point solutions in this area. There are point solutions for reproduction. There's point solutions for menopause. There's point solutions for period care, for fertility, and the like. The question is, where can a woman find a solution that really covers all of her needs? A lot of what is done now in healthcare really comes from men's healthcare. And it's really surprising to know that it wasn't really until 1993 that women were actually allowed in clinical trials. So most of the meds that are out there and most of the protocols and things like that were really designed for men and just carried over for women. So it's really impersonalized. And then the second thing is, today in the healthcare market, in terms of employers and other benefits, it's really uncoordinated. Health plans and employers really aren't in the business of patching together all these point solutions. And again, there's a provider to provider. So once someone gets pregnant through a fertility solution, then they have to actually find another partner, another point solution to be able to go in pregnancy care. And then after that, for maternity care. Well, we looked at this landscape and we said, this really doesn't make much sense. So we built a platform really that unifies, connects, and coordinates all this care. So we built a platform where it's an end-to-end solution that really will meet all the women's needs at all stages, not necessarily focused around the reproductive capacity or machinery of a woman, but really all the life stages. And I'll describe really the services that we have. It's personalized. And it's not only personalized with respect to the healthcare services, whether it's telemedicine or whether it's nutritional counseling or whether it's scripts. It's really actually putting together products that make sense for a woman together with the services. So for example, during menopause, the women might have dry skin or there might be issues there. So we actually coordinate the personalization of the care, not only the services, but really coordinate with products. And then again, it's coordinated so that we can bring the right products and the services to the right time to be able to have better outcomes. Well, why is this important? If you really take a look at claims and you take a look at a number of things, first of all, it's a high cost. But the second, and really probably the most important thing is that there's been a really high exodus of women from the workforce. Just think about all of the types of things that women have to do in terms of taking care of their family, to be able to work, all the burdens that they have within the family and care for the family. But even more specifically, women are really at high risk for heart disease, vaginal health, UTIs, and bacterial vaginosis is really recurrent and a very high cost among claims. Menopause, for example, believe it or not, when you think about why is menopause such an important thing, 70 to 80 years ago, most women didn't live past 50. But this is really an issue essentially where it's become an incredibly important problem, not only on the clinical side and the cost side, but also on the workforce, where last couple of years, more than 2 million women left. And then pregnancy, for example, and it's much more important today that we actually have benefits for pregnancy and family care, mental health, and then obviously chronic conditions that are women specific. Endometriosis, entirely painful and very costly. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, for example, is also. And then again, 70% of women, for example, pregnant have chronic pelvic pain. All of these have been ignored in the market. So it's a really important and why it matters. And again, as I've said, menopause is really now why you can't really afford to lose women. Menopause, many women are leaving the workforce because of menopause. Postpartum depression, we've been analyzing claims from a number of employers that it's one of the top 6 costs in terms of postpartum depression of an employer. And then really labor force exits. Well, we've done this before. This is our team. We've been in a number of places, J&J, Aetna. We understand this market, and so we built this platform to do really an end-to-end solution. The solution is called Awesome Woman, and it's even beyond sort of just putting together the clinical program. It's really a brand that celebrates the confidence, the uniqueness, and individuality of women. And we've put everything in one place, a single destination, so that women can actually access care along all of their particular journeys. So it's a holistic platform where we have specialty care, diagnostics and medication, mental health, sexual wellness, chronic care, reproductive care, and of course, beauty, wellness, and prevention, where beauty actually is really a very important component of the platform as well. And again, it brings everything together in a single platform where a woman needs through all of the stages of her life that's coordinated, prevented, it reduces cost, increases engagement, and the retention. The way we did this was not to build it around the reproductive machinery of women. We didn't build it around ages. We built it on actually what we would call journeys that are really important with respect to not only employers as well as health plans. Vaginal and urinary health are really important components, so there are journeys that are built around that. Wellness and prevention, reproductive health, hormone management. So hormone management can address either the issues in perimenopause or menopause, as well as for fertility and contraception and things, as well as sexual health. And what we do here essentially is build these journeys around an ecosystem. So when someone comes into the system for vaginal and urinary health, we have diagnostics and home diagnostics, whether they're over-the-counter urine strips or whether they're blood collection. We have telemedicine that can actually help to advise this. We have a pharmacy. We have nutritional counseling. We also have vitamins and probiotics, many of which are therapeutic in terms of restoring urinary health, for example, recurrent UTIs, or certainly bacterial vaginosis. So we create an ecosystem of products and create an ecosystem of services that are really tailored to the individual and personalized issues of each woman. And they're around journeys. So a woman can go through one of these journeys, for example, and they can cross over these journeys. So in the way that it's done, everything is personalized from the beginning. We've tried to find the variable, i.e. the sort of personalized and not the common traits of each individual. We do this by some very sophisticated techniques, machine learning and other types of things. Looking at validated questionnaires, we look at the claims to find out where they've been and what are some of the risk factors. We listen and capture really what their interests are, both on the psychosocial, self-esteem, for example, quality of life, what their nutritional status is. And then we match and build a personal program. It could be diagnostics, nutritional, behavioral health. For example, in postpartum depression, we do have a very extensive nationwide behavioral health program that focuses on postpartum depression. We have also a behavioral health program that focuses on the transition into menopause and the symptomology. So we build a personal program. And then, of course, we have, then we listen, interact, monitor, empower. So if someone has an immune disease or IBS, which is common among women, or someone who wants to get pregnant and has PCOS, we design these programs so that we can get them along these journeys from point A to point B so they don't have to wander through the system. One of the things that I think is unique to us in terms of this program that we designed, it goes beyond the clinical. We wanted to create this ecosystem of products, many of which can be purchased on a health savings account, our self-care products, supplements, which are actually matched to the biology of the woman, probiotics, and I'll give you an example, women who have recurrent bacterial vaginosis, which is a common complaint that they go to the physician. We've developed therapeutic probiotics that can restore the normal sort of bacterial environment of the vagina so that they do not get recurrent bacterial vaginosis anymore because of that formulation. FDA cleared and the like. Diagnostic tests, which come to their home and they get returned in 2 days, for example. All the hormones, thyroid, all of the types of things, for example, A1C, the wellness parameters, and also vitamin markers we can do for diagnostic tests so that we can add the supplements as well. And again, these are supported by all of the types of programs of telehealth, prescriptions, nutritional, and behavioral health. And the last thing that I'll mention too is that we have special, what we would call boxes. So when someone is, a woman is about ready to have a baby, then we'll send them actually a baby box, which will be personalized content in terms of breastfeeding, supplements to support the healthy baby, and then behavioral health support of being a new mom. Same thing with healthy mom and healthy menopause. Again, we've created an ecosystem of products around the services so that we can address each of those transitions. And one of the last thing I'll say is that we're very focused on trying to save cost and increase the morale, increase retention of women in the workforce. Here's an example of a third-party administrator, or TPA, that we're currently working with and evaluating. They spend about $13 billion a year on women's health, about 863,000 employees, 423,000 women. And we've gone through the claims and said, what can we actually eliminate in duplicative cost? What can we address, for example, at high cost, for example, like postpartum depression? What can we do in terms of UTIs and bacterial vaginosis? And this is what we typically find. We found that we could get $30 million savings in medical costs, about 11 on the pharmacy cost. The program cost would be 15 million, about $4,280 savings per participant. And we guarantee ROIs of at least 2, no less than 2, with guarantees on those ROIs. There are a lot of duplicative costs in these claims. There are a lot of costs that can be handled on a remote basis. And there are a lot of sort of costs that can actually be done in the convenience of the home to be able to address the very busy working life of a woman. There are other companies out there. We are really the comprehensive end-to-end, both in wellness, 24/7 demand care, at-home diagnostics, nutrition, fertility, and we have one bundled price that is on a per participant per month. And can handle all of the types of things across all of the women's journey. The convenience and savings provided, we're the one-stop shop for an employee, high quality, single platform with unlimited access. We're not charging for individual telemedicine. It's whatever they need to use, personalized and customized solutions. And then for an employer, by the way, cost savings, engagement of the members, as well as the single destination for these members. Easy to implement. We've done this so many times before. We take care of all of this. We're accountable for everything. Hassle-free environment. And generally, we've done these programs on a first dollar benefit basis, as well as a no copay basis, as we've done for other programs as well, to make it easy and convenient for women who are in our program. So I'll finish up there. There's a huge need for women to have a single destination, an end-to-end solution that's not just focused on reproduction, but really addresses all of their needs through all of the journeys, through all of the changes, as well as the needs that they have during all stages of their life. We can be reached here. Here's my email address and our phone. We're actually located in Houston, Texas, but do have a New York office. We're not a particularly small company in that respect. We're serving about 250,000 women right now on a monthly basis. We have significant revenues as well, and have been in this market for a good period of time. And so have the ability to serve large populations of women within your groups.
All right, Kim, well, you had 1 minute left, but we can go ahead and move on to the Q&A session. So if you don't mind, please stop sharing your screen so we can see attendees as they ask questions. We would like to remind everybody that you have the opportunity to click on raise hand, and you can be seen on the screen to ask your question, or feel free to type your question into the chat function and we'll ask them for you for as many as we can. We do have a number of questions coming in. And I think some of the basic statistics that I was wondering about myself, just how many people are currently enrolled in the platform, and do you have a measure of satisfaction rating, and really what are women saying about the effectiveness?
Yeah, so on a monthly basis, in terms of sending out boxes and things like that, there's over 250,000 women. On the platform, because we have another part of this platform, we actually have 1.3 million women. So we're serving and providing services and education to really about 1.5 million women, 250,000 which receive the boxes every month. The NPS score, and we've broken this down in various groups essentially. hovers anywhere between 40 and 70 at this particular point. So that's really kind of what we're looking at the NPS for the various segments that we're serving right now.
That's great. I had a question really about, it seems that I may have already a relationship with a physician or physicians, and how does this coordinate with, communicate with my relationships with my gynecologist, my OB-GYN, or what have you?
Well, good question. So here's really kind of the bottom line. As it turns out, and most everybody knows that most people don't have a PCP. Our telemedicine network has 900 physicians, most of them are on plans. It's a curated network of women's primary care physicians. We do not eliminate the gynecologist or the obstetrician. Obviously, the obstetrician, no. But many of the types of things that we do, the gynecologist would wish us to do, for example, treating UTIs and BV and bacterial vaginosis, prenatal, for example, on vitamins and things like that, and we get them ready. So we do actually have the ability to communicate with the specialists. We do have a specialist network. We have a specialist network in terms of referrals for fertility and high-risk pregnancies that we work with. So we do have a referral network, and we do have the ability to be able to communicate back and forth with the gynecologist or the obstetrician of the particular individual.
Yeah. So what's the implementation process? Does this require that, or do you integrate with other vendors today to provide some seamless exchange of information? Can you talk about that a little bit, Kim?
Yeah, on the tech side, that's since we've been in this business a long time, we're pretty tech facile. We actually have a very large data science and predictive analytics team, as well as a tech stack. So the tech is pretty easy. Right now, we do not have our own pharmacy, but we have a pharmacy with whom we're working, but we can integrate to any pharmacy that anybody likes. We can integrate with, it's an 80-20, we can integrate certainly with electronic medical records. And certainly with other vendors, we've done that on the behavioral health side, despite the fact that we acquired a behavioral health company that does peer-to-peer behavioral support. We're able to communicate with many of them. We do have something with Talkspace and Headspace, and we do have something with Thrive Global, where we communicate in terms of doing mindfulness, for example, and other types of things as well. So cross-communicating with other vendors is really quite easy for us as well.
Well, it's a great innovation. I was sitting here thinking about the day one experience. So I sign up, my employer offers this to their workforce. I sign up. What's a day one experience like for me as a woman joining in this program?
Yeah, so we have these journeys. So the initial thing is that for an employer, we'll generally start with and have worked with them. We'll start with claims, for example. We would have already downloaded the claims. We would already have done an economic analysis so that we would know essentially where these populations have been. So, for example, a woman comes into the system, we would have some history already. We would know where she's been. And because of the predictive analytics, and we're excited about that, we're able to actually predict some things that could happen, like premature osteoporosis, for example, or women who really are headed for infertility at least a year or 2 years in advance. So we'll identify the risk factors and then set up a bunch of questions for them to address. So then we develop that profile on where they've been, what are some of the predictive things that we see in the data, and then address those questions. And normally, for example, let's say someone who's coming in that has an interest in menopause, doesn't know exactly what's happening with their body. That happens frequently. So we'll actually do a hormone test to find out really what are the levels of progesterone. We'll send them a kit. They get it right at home. They prick their finger, or they will urinate on a sample and send it back to us. We get it back in 2 days, and we'll understand what their hormone levels, for example. We'll look at anti-Müllerian hormone, which is a suggester for ovarian reserve, and we'll start from there. And so then we'll begin to triage it down there so that we'll have the telemedicine. Might need some nutritional support. There might be some issues in understanding in terms of behavioral support. So we'll create that environment around you, around them, essentially, that will be very specific, starting from the diagnostics and some of the triage of the data, so that their program is tailored along that course to get them from point A to point B. Educate them, understand the hormonal balance that we need to fix, get the nutritional level, and then provide that peer support and the community support that they need to understand what's going on.
We had a question about what's the cost of the program? How much does it cost, let's just say, for a typical member or a woman that's part of the program?
So when we come into an employer, basically, we can do it on two bases. There's a quote membership, or you would call a coordination fee. It can be done on $10, for example, and then that is a fee for service. So what would happen there is that we would charge on a fee for service using CPT codes, just like any provider would do. That's probably less popular because then, because we've analyzed the claims, right now it's $88, for example, per participant per month, and it's all inclusive. They can get unlimited telemedicine visits, unlimited diagnostics, unlimited nutritional support. So it's about $1,000 a year. That would be $88 per participant per month. But we guarantee outcomes, essentially, that we would return 25% of that at least if we don't get the right clinical as well as the cost structure. So $1,000 a year under the health plan, for example. First dollar benefit, we don't really want to have a deductible subjected, and we don't want to have a copay under that. So that's what the cost of it would be. A direct bill to the employer, or a direct bill through the back end in terms of a provider would do. We have our own NPI number that we would actually could bill the adjudicator, the health insurance plan.
Great. One of the questions that came up was about just explaining Net Promoter Score.
Yeah.
So, and in terms of what's good and the range that you propose there.
Well, I'm going to venture to say that 70 is generally considered excellent to borderline outstanding. I think 80 is really outstanding. 100 is the mark. It goes negative 100 to plus 100. So a Net Promoter Score, and Art, I think you could probably verify that 70 is usually quite good.
Yes, I can. The health insurance industry runs around 18, just to put that in context. I think Apple and Ritz-Carlton are in the 70s range. So that gives you the order of magnitude there. A question came up too about phlebotomy metrics incorporated. Are they part of the program?
Very good question there. So to date, we have about 40 diagnostic kits. They're really pretty cool. They come to the home. You can do a single finger prick, and we can get hormone levels, for example, progesterone, estradiol, testosterone, anti-Müllerian hormone on a single finger prick that can be sent off on a piece of filter paper to our laboratory. For something that might be a lot more complex, we're working with one of the two largest providers, LabCorp and Quest right now, where they could either go to Quest or to LabCorp to have the phlebotomy, but they're also, and we've been talking about at-home phlebotomy as well. So at the moment it's a finger prick, but if there's a larger blood draw, it can either be in the comfort of the home or they can go to a Quest or LabCorp center.
Well, thank you, Kim. That was outstanding. I don't see any more questions in the queue. So, all right, Cody, you're up next. So get ready. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you very much.
Just want a reminder to everyone that we do need your feedback forms, and just to let you know that the ESA, I should say, let Kim and Cody know that you may be interested in engaging with them for further conversations. You'll have that in their materials with their contact information. So, Cody, thank you for being with us today on our panel. And by the way, I want to say congratulations on the relatively recent major investment in collective health by one of the nation's largest insurers, which I understand is positioning your company to its large and jumbo clients and prospects.
That's right.
So Cody, I see that you've already shared your screen. You know the drill. You have 15 minutes, and thereafter we'll have 10-minute Q&A. I'll need to cut you off at 15 minutes sharp. Cody, you've shared your screen,
Sure.
So begin. You got 15 minutes.
Great. Well, thanks everybody for the time. I hope I can make this fun and enjoyable. I also hope it's something you can't unsee. A lot of times that's the way this presentation goes with collective health. And here's what I want to start with telling you is I looked at the list of the attendees and you all on this call today. It's super impressive resumes. So let's just pretend that you and I joined a company today. We started a new healthcare administrator in today's day where we can use the best technology, the best of all that you've learned from your history, working with employees and growing businesses, but also how do we get better than the insurance companies have done it? better at administrating the plan, better at hiring companies like FemTec and others to run the programs that you all want to run. And then how do we have access to all of our data and do it exactly how we want to run it with a killer member experience to drive utilization? That would be our task. And let's just say that we had unlimited budget to do so, and we could just dream it. My sense is that in that metaphor that I'm building with you, you'd come up with a company that would be almost, if not identical to what Collective Health has done 8 years ago. Our CEO is a mission driven. He had a really a heavy medical incident that really made him mad in Silicon Valley. And he'd started tech companies in the past, but he almost died, got fixed at the hospital, and the carrier didn't pay for it. And he was on the hook for about $1 million of claims. And after a couple of years of fighting the system and trying to understand how this could happen, he hired some friends that were doctors that knew healthcare, and he knew technology. And he said, let's go take on a new model. This has to be better for employees. So I hope that's a hot opening for you to get your attention for the next 5 minutes or so. But I just want to relate to your employees for a second. I'm an employee. You're an employee. We're all from different backgrounds. So the reason I have 3 profiles on the screen is just to relate to, there's a term out there called social determinants of health. And what that means is we all live in different geographies. We have different access to care. We have different knowledge on how to treat our bodies. We have different levels of income on what we can do and support ourselves with doctors or the right food or education or exercise. Everyone is fundamentally different. Yet the challenge for you all in your health plans and all of your benefits administrators that are building these perfect health plans to drive not only cost, you're trying to get engagement with your employees, right? To drive the programs that you so interestingly have invested in because you think they can drive financial value or they can get into retention or attraction of the employees that you all need in your companies. The reality in healthcare today is it's not one size fits all. It's not just picking a medical plan, a dental plan, a vision plan, and then a pharmacy plan. You've got to pick all the different parts and pieces to control the supply chain, just like you do in other parts of your business. But in healthcare, the ingredients really matter, and it's really tailored to your own unique population. But the problem and challenge for your HR teams in today's state, it's not that there aren't a ton of options and tools and resources that you could invest your money in. And the challenge is, how do you integrate it all together, right? You and I have this, whether you're an iPhone user or an Android user, somewhere on your desk or right now, you have this device, right? And we all have access to millions of apps. And I probably use 3 or 4 a day. I'm not a high utilizer, but man, I really need those 4. And you're different. You have 4, 5, 10, 15, but you have your own curated system of what you need to use and how you drive engagement in your life to make it efficient and nice and easy, right? So tune that idea into healthcare. What if we could have the right networks, the right programs with pharmacies, dental, vision, but the other programs that are out there and an ecosystem that's running the health plan to drive and engage on a daily basis when an employee calls in and asks a general question about what's my coverage for this? My kid's sick and I don't understand this bill. What if we could use every engagement as an opportunity to make sure that the employee is the focus, and we could bring all these programs into a custom chassis to administer the health plan better than the big bukas can do it? And that's what Collective Health's all about. So we feel that we make healthcare easy to use as the internet, and it's much easier for HR to get innovative. So I'm going to get tactical for you just on 1 second, because we are my hardest job. I live in Dallas, Texas. My hardest job working with large employers is getting spread by their consultants, because we don't fit on a spreadsheet really well. Reason being is that no one does what Collective Health is doing all under one roof with the tools that we all built from scratch in Silicon Valley, and we're delivering with this really amazing people strategy. So if you see on the left here, the way I compare what we bring to the table is we are a third-party administrator. So you can leave this call and go tell your HR team, go check out Collective Health, they're a TPA. Sure, we are, but we also are so much more than that. Because in box 2 on the left here, if box 1 is choosing and saying we are TPA, box 2 is what I would call navigation, patient advocacy, something that's guiding and steering to the right pockets and populations of members generally, to just make sure they understand their health plan, understand the tools and resources that are a part of the ecosystem. So I'd liken you, if you ever heard of Quantum or Accolade or Grand Rounds or League, a lot of those fit into the patient navigation and advocacy space. And we do that internally in our house at Collective Health, and that's provided in our ecosystem. But then the third box, most people don't hire these third-party CPAs, third-party administrators, because they have a great experience for the member. Usually it's just a facilitator of the claims, and then you have to hire a Castlight or an eVive who may present on some of these calls in the future. They do good work, but again, they're building into a fragmented universe, trying to make it a bit better. We've built that into our ecosystem here to be a great digital front door and so much more. And then finally, data. We bring the data right to your fingertips. We show you your claims utilization daily. We give you your reporting by the 5th business day of the following month. So just think, Collective Health is really intently trying to get the claims that are happening in the wild in front of your HR teams in a really beautiful interface that is in real time as we can get it. So that's really the tactical blocking and tackling of what it is we deliver. But this is what I wanted to drill home with you all today on the world and the fight for talent, to keep your people, to get the best people in the door. If whatever your mission is as an organization financially, is it to retain and have a lot of folks around for a long time for great customer experiences, or is it straight financial outcome value? I know the outcomes are what we're after, but I want to really challenge that thought that the member experience, when it comes to your first, second largest expense in healthcare, is the key to everything. All of the programs that are really interesting that you could drive that great value in, if you don't have a general baseline of great engagement to your members to explain and guide, you're never going to get the awareness. You're not going to get the engagement that you so desire in those programs. And then ultimately those outcomes can flounder. And you can be left saying, man, we really wish XYZ point solution had this type of result. Well, the outcome wasn't what we wanted because the member engagement at a base, because there were other toys and options available in the health plan. They're out there. It's a lot of noise to members. So this is my final slide, y'all. I just want to share that, again, Collective Health's been around 8 years. We have been challenging the big bukas and the carriers. And at first, we thought we could just build domestic networks with hospitals across big cities. We found out we needed to go play with the big bukas. And I'll end where Art started. Last year, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas, the consortium HCSC, they gave us $250 million and took 15% of our company. They decided that they need to play offense in this universe with everything I just described to you, rather than the past. And a lot of Blues plans still do this. They play defense with TPAs, innovative companies that are trying to help in this arena. That one consortium now has exclusive access to me to be able to play offense with this. So if you're situs in either Texas, Oklahoma, Illinois, Montana, or New Mexico, great for you because you have this as an option. But good news if you're in another state, you're situs. We have network relationships across the country. Not all Blues plans. Sometimes it's other networks, but would love to follow up with you after that. I will, and Art's probably going to call this out if I don't. We talked a little bit about NPS today. It's a grueling metric, y'all. Negative 100 to positive 100. So I checked this morning for this presentation. For year to date today with our 70 clients, our NPS is 82. And remember, it's impressive wherever you are in that range, as we've discussed today, but to be the health plan administrator and to the employee, we're the face of insurance. Okay. They call us because it's one number for medical, pharmacy, dental, vision, any point solutions. We're their one sentinel to get to access to everything. So that experience that they have with us, for them to rate it as high as they do, it means that experience with the member is exactly what our founders started out to have and do, which is have this different experience, teach them what they need to know, help them where they don't understand, and guide them across this journey of understanding healthcare. And we do a really, really good job of it. So I won't roll through all the stats. Y'all are, we can ask some questions here, and I'd love for you to pop in the chat if you have any questions. We got some good logos here of early adopters of our company that we're really proud of too. But Art, I think you might have had some questions for me today, and it looks like I did that all in about 11 minutes. So we've got a good amount of time to talk this through a bit.
Well, thank you, Cody, for that. And I want to open, we're a little early. We got 4 more minutes, but you were very concise, and appreciate that approach to this. We're going to open it up to Q&As. I see some of the questions are starting to come in. I'm going to start off with one of my own. So, to the extent that Collective Health is, working with BUCAs, can you explain to the group what BUCA is?
Yeah, it's the main insurance carriers, Cigna, Aetna, United. Blue Cross Blue Shield are the big ones, but when we refer to the BUCA, it's the traditional insurance companies, the large ones there's only a handful. So the options have been fairly limited in the past. But that's who I reference when I say BUCA. Art, apologies for that.
That's okay. That's okay. It's jargon we all use, but not everybody knows what those are. So I wanted to make sure that got explained. So kind of a question here for Collective. So if I have Blue Cross Blue Shield today and Aetna Dental, how would I engage Collective Health?
That's a great question. So the first real question and answer we have to figure out is, where's your company situs? The Blues plan can approve to use Collective on their network. In certain states, we already have relationships because Blues plans in certain pockets of the country have realized that if we work with Collective Health, we're going to retain our accounts. They're not going to have to go to United or Cigna to get a chassis that will do some of the things that are all the things that we allow for you to do on the Blue network. So I think we just need to look at where your site is and if the Blues plan plays with Collective Health today. If you're big enough, then they probably won't want to lose you, so they'll play with us. Sometimes it's that as well.
So you'd be able to tap into the Blue network if currently in the Texas, Illinois, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Montana. There's a lot of clients up there, Montana.
Yep.
And if not, then it would be sort of a Blue Cross Blue Shield plan would need to agree to partner with you, which some of the Blue plans do today.
That's right.
And in that vein, can you talk a little bit about your, do you have a minimum size? Do you have a sweet spot in terms of employers you're targeting or willing to deal with down to a certain size? Can you kind of elaborate a little bit about your target market there?
Sure. We work with companies that are 25,000 employees. Our average is, I think, is 4,500 employees at this point in time. This year, we just announced for 1/1/23, we have extended that down to 250 employees enrolled on the plan. We just found that, again, this is a very mission-driven company, and we're a chassis, right? So healthcare doesn't really get all the good. Employers that are sub 1,000 have sometimes gotten the short end of the stick of all the great things to do a self-funded health plan in a way that you all might at your larger organization. So we have different models built out so that we can service groups. A lot of our executives came from eBay. We're servicing all this out of Lehi, Utah. So we've taken some of those executives' experiences to build this at scale, and we've now flexed to go large and jumbo down to even sub 500, which is really exciting for us to see the growth that we'll have over the next several years, and therefore more data points to prove to you all in the future.
Can you give like I did with Kim, kind of a day one experience? My company just stood up Collective Health.
Sure.
I'm now getting the materials about Collective Health, and now I'm trying to engage. What does that look like for me as a typical member, either a employee or a spouse or what have you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we start before day one because in launching this, we want to make sure that the plans that they're looking at least just to understand what is being offered. Not necessarily, we aren't the enrollment engine. We won't mess with any. I came from ADPR, as you know, I worked there for 10 years. We're not asking to change anything on the core system of record, but we do connect to that core system in a really meaningful way to the employees. So we allow access before the enrollment date so that they can read and understand plan comparisons. And then in the future, we're the number on the back of the card, one number, not 10. So that way they have one number to call for medical, pharmacy, vision, dental, any of the point solutions. You can advertise just that one dedicated phone number for them to call if they have any tactical questions, if they're scared or they have a diagnosis or they need some more support. They can call and talk to a nurse directly. I mean, it's a really nice model for them to have that, just to understand and navigate their general health plan. And then you expand off of that, Art, if there are additional point solutions or things for specific members like fertility or women's health. And we want to drive and steer and let them know that this would be a great benefit to you. Would you like more information about it? Can we get you connected? So that way we increase engagement in all of the tools and resources. So of course, as I meant, it's 2022. We should have a really fantastic digital experience. We deliver that. We have a native app off the App Store, Apple or Android, that you can access all of your plan, your digital cards across carriers, which is a bit unique. Blue Cross Blue Shield, for example, or Cigna or Aetna, they have an app and it'll show their card. But I dare you to ask them to put a different PBM's information on their website or a different competitive carrier on vision or dental, that's where it starts to get hard for a member. And then you have 4 apps, and then you have all different types of ways to get understanding of healthcare. So I would draw you into, we're a very simplified experience, either digitally or if they call into us for folks that don't use phones. A lot. I'm in Dallas, Texas. I grew up in West Texas. A lot of my clients are industrial. They play on Facebook on their phone, but they're not going to look at a work email. So for those employers, we need to be really great on the telephone with humans in America that can answer their questions, right? But for other companies, I mean, and employers, you want to have access and on demand, and we provide that to Art.
Great. Yeah, I was going to do a pin. One of the things you said, that the reality is that the majority of insurers are still operating in a mainframe environment. That's where they got their scale and their leverage for their price affordability. But with the cloud and with digital startups, obviously smaller companies now have equal to or better scale than the big mighty, Blue Cross and commercial carriers. So from that perspective, you're accumulating a lot of data. So how do you get involved in designing benefit plans or using your analytics to predict, that against future costs? Do you do that, provide that service?
Yeah, we do. We're doing a lot of analytics. We risk analyze every heartbeat on our plan in a proprietary way, because we're doing outreach to members to make sure that they know they have additional resources. Carriers offer that type of product, but you have to pay a premium for it, for that outreach, for that care management. It's just built into what we do. We're more efficient. So I see one of the chats here is, don't major insurance carriers do that? Sure, they try to, but you have to pay a lot of premium on a fixed cost basis. And then you have to sometimes go out and get an attach or approval for other vendors to do everything I bring to the table at a more cost-effective PEPM to administer this to your employees. And we think we do a lot better job because we're using all of the different vendors that you choose as the employer and really wrap our arms around the members. And Art, to dovetail into another question in here, if you have a high cost claimant, I'm seeing $1 million in claims, how do you solve for that experience that your CEO saw? Let me tell you a quick story, really briefly.
I think that was really, Cody, your CEO,
the
$1 million experience he had. How does what Collective Health created solve his issue?
Yeah, I'll tell you a story that I just read about internally and was told and talked to the member advocate that supported it. We got a phone call in from a woman that moved here from Britain 3 years ago, where she had healthcare for free. She's living in America, working for a Collective Health company, one of our clients, and she got diagnosed with breast cancer, had treatment, was in recovery, and then the bills started to come in stacks. And to her, she's looking at $85,000 in non-paid insurance claims that she doesn't know what to do with because she doesn't understand her health system. She's scared because it looks like she owes a ton of money, calls the number on the back of her card to ask if there's anything we can do to support with that. A couple things happen at this point. We share, yes, let us look at these bills with you. Can you send her a secure link? She took a picture of all the different bills and sent them in so that our member advocate could do diligence on bumping that against the plan, out of network negotiation processes. In a lot of cases, we sent it to our claims team to go for a repricing on each of these based on some findings we saw that didn't look quite right. The process took 5 months on thing number 1 that we did for this member, but we got it down $50,000 from where it initially started just by the investigation, review, communication, repricing back with the network and the doctor for the member. But the second part that happens is we have licensed and clinical social workers, pharmacists, dietitians, nurses in a pod that for a purpose just like this, there's a tactical resource that needs to get after these bills and understand that. But there's a medical resource that we want to make sure that that member understands her plan design, of course, as a baseline. But do you have a ride to get back to your treatment? Do you have enough food in the refrigerator or understand what you should be taking with this medication? Let's do a medication review for you and make sure that you understand what you're taking and putting in your body now as you recover from this cancer that you've had. So we're doing all of this for the member that is really wrapping our arms around them and almost like a private investigator, Art, in a way of the benefit for the member, understanding community resources, the plan, the tools in the plan to really hyper utilize them for what I would call rising risk or high cost claimants. Now, our goal is to do that for everybody we think is a rising risk person, and we try. we outreach to 99% of what we call rising risk targets. So at a later date, or if you send this to your HR team and say, look at collective health, that's something that you should press us on, because I think that's the most important, impressive thing on where you see on our screen. How are you getting double ROI from what you cost? Well, as the administrator, we're doing some very, very interesting things to get in front of the right members at the right time and tell the right story for healthcare.
Thank you, Cody. Yes,
Yeah.
I certainly know that every health insurer on the planet is attempting to hang ornaments off the Christmas tree, be able to say that they have a vendor portfolio that they can offer. Few have figured out the experience that makes that a very positive one and a rational one because of the mainframe world they live in. And instead, they're mostly, as Cody said earlier, moving to TPA environments where they have cloud-based services and more flexibility and things of that nature.
Sure.
I see we're closing out on questions, so we give it one last gasp for anyone that might have a question for Cody while he's online. While you're thinking about additional questions, certainly both Kim and Cody have really brought to our attention the fact that U.S. healthcare is complex, it's confusing. We have members and employees that have low health literacy. They throw up their hands and don't know where to go. So organizations that are creating these new kinds of platforms to be able to simplify the experience, personalize the experience, and make it so that at the same time, they reduce the HR burden in the process by having seamless integration, which is not to be underestimated in the world of what some people might call app farms that carriers are throwing at clients. There is a recent study that the National Business Group on Health did that talked about the app and point solution fatigue. And so what is going on now, you're seeing the emergence of two great companies today who have figured that out and are trying to address that market need with a great disruptive solution. So I'm going to stop there. We don't have any more questions, but I just wanted to say that to thank Cody, thank Kim, because that just about wraps up things today. We've certainly all benefited today by learning some things new, and we hope that this helped you understand, the tremendous value of the FemTec Health platform and how it, transforms women's health, and how collective health is, not only taking the burden off of HR by having an integrated health plan administrator, they also have a personalized approach with better outcomes. As a reminder, we're going to send a link out to ESA's YouTube channel with the presentation. So feel free to please reach out directly to the presenters via the contact information in the presentation to learn more.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. On behalf of Cindy and John and myself, we just want to thank Art and Cody and Kim for being here today. We really appreciate it. Know that you're going to get a very short survey after this presentation. It just takes seconds to fill out, but we'd love some feedback. And as we've mentioned before, we are going to record this. You're going to get the presentations. So please pass around your organizations. It's perfectly fine for you guys to pass around our information so that folks within your organization that are relevant can listen to it. And join us on July the 13th for our next one. Accolade and Verta Health will be talking, and you'll receive an invitation to that probably tomorrow morning. So if you haven't registered already, please go ahead and do that. And there will be one every 2 weeks for the next few months. So hope to see all of you again soon. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you,
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thanks.